Hey, I'm Canada Chris. I am talking about the differences between education from Canada to Serbia. And what I've realized talking about it, because I've recorded some of the video, but what I realized talking about it was that I don't really know too much about the education system. I didn't go through college or university, so I don't have that perspective. But the view that I have on it ultimately is that the education system in general across the globe is a bit of a scam. The idea is that the ruling elites of the world have created this box and they want to put you in the box. And the box moves and changes shape and all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's based on a whole bunch of other factors. And the best way that I can explain it to people is that Henry Ford in 1904 created the first, gas-powered engine vehicle or whatever the case in New York, and he needed people to be able to write reports and read instruction manuals on how to build this fucking vehicle thing that he had invented, and he needed people smart enough to be able to build the vehicle, I guess, right? So you had to create an education system that was kind of generalized enough, global enough for your population, that you could educate them on how to write and read and build the things that you want to build so that you could have it to sell to rich people for thousands of dollars. And in the working concept, the exchange was like, we'll give you a wage, which is barely even livable, which will feed you little scraps, which is better than like eating the rats on the road, right? So there was incentive to it, which was fantastic. And the incentive was through, it's like, I want to build a car and become a millionaire slash billionaire. I need people to do that. So I'm going to build a factory. Now I need people to be put into the factory, but the only people that I'll allow in here are the ones that go through the education system, which I've invented. And so I've invented the education system to favor me and my empire, right? And now you're going to have to pay me to go into the education system. And then I'm going to take that money to feed you your scraps when you come to work my jobs so that I can have all the stuff that you build, and I'll just get rid of you when I don't want you because we signed an employment contract. So that's my understanding of the education system ultimately. Now, of course, that's changed a little bit over the time, but that's what it was rooted in, and we have to understand that. Um, so I think it's a bit of a scam. Okay, anyways. But moving forward, the differences, and like what it's like in Canada. I mean, listen, school is basically a daycare, when it starts off, and your younger years, it's to take care of your children, because if you have a mom and a dad at home, the both of them have to be working in order for you guys to be able to survive, for you to be able to have a home and eat and have the vehicle that's required to work because it's 60 kilometers away or 30 kilometers in both directions. It's well too far to be able to work. There's no one that like works and lives in the same place and makes enough money to be able to survive. And that is absolutely zero, not possible with a single person. So you have to have two people in order to be able to have a child. And so if you have a child, it's like the both of you had to go through the education system. The both of you had to get a job and become a cog in a wheel. And you've got to do that one thing for the rest of your life, because if you ever kind of like move around or anything like that, you'll be demoted in your job, in your career path. You won't be making enough money. So there's a lot of people that are just kind of like depressed doing that one thing that they've always done. And they'll do it for the rest of their lives based on a decision that they made that was concocted by somebody else through media and advertising and societal norms and things like this. So the education system is just like, it's beneficial to an extent, but it's like it's not. You have to decide whether you're a person who wants to be in the education system because that's the life that you want, because it draws such a large picture, or whether you want to be someone who's just not a part of that system. I chose not to be a part of that system. I don't like the idea of being an NPC and doing the same job and retiring at 60, 70 years old, with my like $900 pension or whatever, not being able to afford an apartment and basically just dying alone. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. I would rather have less money and travel the world and start a family and find ways to survive on this planet, enjoying the experiences of life, rather than cutting a hole so deep that I can't get out of it. Financially, I think, Europe apparently, anyways, has free education. I have no idea how that's done. I don't believe it. I know that people say that education in Europe is free, but it's got to be bullshit. There's got to be some kind of way that is concocted or something. It doesn't make sense to me. If maybe if you don't keep your grades to a certain level, maybe if you don't stay full time or take certain courses or something, or maybe you go to certain colleges or universities, they must ask for the equivalent of the money back, or it must be put onto your taxes. Like if you take free education, instead of paying 28% tax, you pay 32% tax or something, but you don't pay for the education, but you're paying for the education. You know what I mean? There's got to be some kind of way, because if it was free education, it's like that doesn't even make it, like every single child should be out there like learning how to be a computer programmer and a doctor and a train operator and a tradesman and a business owner, and like I why is everybody not a fucking dentist? You know what I mean? So with that being said, I don't think education is necessarily free. There's got to be a hitch to it. If there is free education, let me know. And let me know if I'm allowed to have this free education, because I'll tell you right now, I'll be a student for the rest of my life, because I think that's amazing. But in Canada, yeah, I mean, education, I guess, has a price. And I don't know how it differs between the stories that we hear of education being like, I've got $250,000 in student debt, $250,000 is a lot of debt to have. I think this is maybe, when you're trying to be like a lawyer or a doctor or like some white collar job, it probably has, like a $50,000, $60,000 price tag attached to it for like a really shitty school and a shitty place. And if you want to go to places like, you know, like an Ivy League is what they call it, I guess, like Harvard and things like this. Chances are you're not allowed in there anyway, so that doesn't even matter, because you have to have friends and influence and pay lots of money to be considered, and that money goes straight to the school and the dean and stuff like this or whatever. It's all like payoff kind of like corrupt bullshit, but like for like normal folk, okay, normal people like you and I, some provinces are pretty good about it and will pay for education under the certain conditions that have to be kept. Grades, classes, courses, schools, like it's all kind of like predetermined, pre-decided for the most part. You're given a list of what your options are, and you have to choose within this list, and you have to obey everything it is that they want. But you can get free education. So, maybe like $2,000-3,000 a year to pay for your tuition and different things like this, and your books would be sufficient. I think it's gotten a lot easier and cheaper since we've moved everything online for the most part. But the bureaucracy of education is fucking disgusting. The stuff that Isabella goes through with her courses just to be able to survive and get along in her classrooms or like with her teachers or classmates, I would murder people. Okay, I'm talking figuratively, but like I would murder people. You're not allowed to say like, hey, what's up, guys? In today's class, blah blah blah, because if you say guys, you're assuming the gender of the people in the classroom, which may not in that moment decide that they feel like a guy, and you'll get kicked out of school. Like they'll be like, there's your paper. You're no longer like slap on the wrist for number one, number two, you're gone. That's it. And that kind of stuff is just like mind-boggling because it's the indoctrination, it's the propaganda of what it is that Canada is trying to do to their people, and it's like I am not for that. I am not for that. So that's a whole different story. But so the education system, I think maybe financially is probably kind of similar. I think that ultimately where it comes from, how it was designed to operate, probably pretty similar and stuff, because like humans are humans, right? But the biggest difference would be like what what courses and what you're allowed to do and say and what the school is like, and that's more of a cultural thing. And Canada's culture is becoming very fucking disgusting. Um, so yeah, so that would be a big difference. So count your guys' self lucky that you are like normal, rational human beings, because in Canada they're not. They're not. But that's it for that one. So bye.